much. Thank you, everybody, for having me. I'm very excited about this conference. As Dinesh said, my name is Douglas Warren. I'm one of the people, one of the large group, grassroots group of people around the world who, over the last year and a half, launched Telos Network. I'm very excited to be able to tell you about what Telos is, how it works, how it can benefit you, and why we think it's a very exciting platform for dApps. So let me share my screen. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Great. Okay. All right. So this is about Telos, empowering people with purpose. It's a great quote I love about purpose. Efforts and courage are not enough without purpose and direction. In life, one of the keys to happiness is to have purpose. One of the keys to success in work is to work with purpose. And we feel that it's very important to understand purpose, both in our own personal lives and what we're involved in and our work lives. Why do we do what we do? And very importantly, I feel that the social media revolution that we're going through right now, while it brings a lot of communication, it doesn't do much to allow people to follow purpose. Those tools don't help that. But blockchain, especially the Telos blockchain, just on this, and we think we have a great set of tools that allow people to work together and follow their purpose. But let's back up for a second. What is the purpose of blockchain? We're here, we're looking at all kinds, you're here at this conference, we're all interested in blockchain. What's its real purpose? How do you boil it down? Is it about difficulty levels and money and all these things? What is really the magic about blockchain? Well, I've worked in this space for some years now, and if I were to boil it down, I would say that the purpose of blockchain is to build trust between people by eliminating the possibility for anyone to manipulate the records, right? And we think about how can you trust people that you don't know or can't see or aren't in your family. And the best way to be able to trust people is if they simply have no way to cheat. And that's what the shared ledger of blockchain technology allows us. So it allows a set of tools where we can start working together with people who we don't immediately know, because nobody can cheat. And I think that's really the purpose, and that's the great innovation of blockchain. So what's the purpose of Telos? Well, it's interesting. All this focus on purpose is in part because Telos actually means purpose. It's a Greek word. It means the ultimate purpose of something. Aristotle described the meaning of Telos as the telos of an acorn is to become an oak tree. It's the ultimate end. It's what it's and what it's there to do, right? An acorn, in the end, is ultimately there to become an oak tree. And we have, from the very start, felt that this sense of purpose, this sense of growth, this sense of the ability to take something small and make it big, was very close to what we thought the world needed in a blockchain. I mean, there's a lot of blockchains. If something doesn't bring a real strength, it's probably not needed. So why would we start a new blockchain unless we really saw something missing? And we did. We saw that this ability to have a strong, fast, high capacity, feeless transaction blockchain with decentralization in all ways, and a set of tools that allow people to work together, focused on that didn't exist, and that's a big part of why we call Telos. So the purpose of Telos itself is to provide tools for people to work together efficiently, transparently, in an incentivized way, and with purpose. So what is the Telos blockchain? Well, the Telos blockchain, it's many things. One is high capacity. If you were to go to blocktivity.info right now, you would would see that the top 2 blockchains in the world in terms of how many transactions are happening are EOS and Telos, which are both powered by the same EOSIO software. Telos has a number of additional features. That's mostly what I'll be talking about. But these dominate others. That capacity is very important because we're talking about something that needs to work across the whole world, right? So if you look at this, right, this is a snapshot from December. The numbers are different, but the positions are pretty similar right now. Again, you can go to blocktivity.info right now. But let's look at these records, right? EOS and Telos have records of 74 and 24 million transactions for 24 hours. What's the next closest one? Well, it's 5 million, right? That's a big difference. That's a huge difference. And most, like Ethereum and Bitcoin, are a little over 1 million transactions per second, or per 24 hours is the record, right? So if you're thinking about a whole world with 7 billion people and all kinds of devices and all this interaction, you need high capacity. Anything that doesn't have high capacity now is not in a good position to be the blockchain that people adopt. Because it's simply no point moving to something that can only do 1 billion transactions per day. If you look at Internet of Things type devices, right, and you would want to set up a small IoT device blockchain down, right? Let's say you had 1,000 and 5,000 devices, and you wanted them to do a transaction every minute for each of those. Well, interestingly, that would be almost exactly a little more than the record for how many transactions per day Ethereum has ever done, just on that fairly small network, right? So if we're stuck there, then we're not going to be able to build the blockchain of the future. Capacity is very important. By the way, Telos is currently undergoing a upgrade to EOSIO 2.0 that will do a 5 to 15 times increase in this capacity. That's already the highest in the world. What else is Telos? Well, Telos is very fast. Instead of 1 block per 10 minutes or 1 block per 12 seconds, like Ethereum, we have 1 block per half second, 120 blocks per minute. And that means that if we have those IoT devices or fast smart contracts, it means that those things are high resolution, right? So if we want to track something that happens every half second on the blockchain, we absolutely can with Telos. By the way, if you want to think, well, what if somebody's going to come up with something faster? What do they have? What if they do whatever in a quarter second? Well, interestingly, for a blockchain to be able to be global and travel around and have the signals travel around the world and still have time to compute anything, it's very hard to get past half a second just because of the speed of light, speed of internet routing, and the size of the globe. So you can get a little faster, but really not much faster than that on a global blockchain. And Telos is there right now. It's very exciting. It also means that when users send a transaction to Telos, they are able to get feedback that something was confirmed almost immediately, right? Even with Ethereum, you may wait 12 seconds if you get into the next block. You may have to miss a few blocks, right? That's a long time to wait. I'm sure all of us who've used this have played that game of trying to guess the right gas fee and waiting for your transaction to come through. On Telos, it operates at the speed that computer users are used to, and that's a huge thing, not only for developers, but also for bringing in users. Telos is also about feeless transactions, right? I was talking about those gas fees. I'm sure we've all, like I said, been on Ethereum. We've seen how I tell a joke, which is that my favorite blockchain game in the world is trying to guess the right amount of gas to use on an Ethereum transaction. right? If you've ever played that game, you don't want to give too much, but you don't want to get stuck and be in the mempool forever, right? Well, Telos takes all that away. There are no gas fees. Instead, users simply hold the Telos tokens and use them to reserve network resources. But these tokens are not consumed, right? So as a result, dApps could actually do what we want. The big idea of many dApps is that they become autonomous and they don't need somebody to constantly be managing them, right? They manage themselves. Well, if you have gas fees, it's much harder because you never know when you're going to run out of gas or what the changing numbers are. But if you don't have fees and you simply stake, then you can those tokens are never consumed. Then these dApps actually can become immortal and self-sustaining and autonomous, right? It's really nice also that transactions never fail or delay due to a gas price, like we see on Ethereum during congested times. These are really important things for usability. If we want to really bring in general users, we need to make blockchain apps run like other computer apps. And third generation blockchains like Telos are really the way to do that. Another thing that Telos is user-friendly account names. It's another great feature for why we think that general users are going to come to it. Right? If I say, hey, I'm going to send you, $1 million in Telos, right? Or Ethereum, right? But write down this number, my account name is Joseph.Mason. That's a lot easier to remember than a hexadecimal Ethereum account or a Bitcoin account. We need to move to this, and Telos already has. So we have human readable account names that are 1 to 12 characters long. They can be A to Z, 1 to 5, period. You can also have certain dApps we're already seeing are buying these namespaces so they can have whatever they want in front of them. For example, is an app that's using these that's working on Telos, and it bought the name .seed, so it's able to prove to users that in certain accounts are actually with the dApp officially. These are really important. It's a massive improvement for user adoption. Telos is also about fast and free account creation. We have all kinds of tools to quickly get onto the Telos blockchain as a user. The chain will pay the initial fees for anyone to make your account. You can make one instantly from Telegram. If you have a Telegram bot, anyone with a Telegram account can instantly make a new Telos free account. We have one that uses your SMS, uses your SMS, your phone number, as long as it's not a voice over IP. And we can create these very quick. You can be probably 30 seconds. You can be up and running on Telos. That's a lot faster, and that's another key. So I'm hoping what you're seeing here is a pattern of driving a blockchain that's designed around being highly functional for dApps, but also being very attractive for users. Now, part of that is the social, right? We are already integrating social tools into blockchain. In my view, this whole idea of wallets and blockchain that we've been working with for years is one of the things that sort of makes it hard for people to come in, right? People are used to social media much easier, much more. And so we brought in a ton of features. Your account can have an avatar that anyone can see. Your account can have identity features or not, depending on your choice. You can create a simple name, not just your account name, so that people can find you amongst all the other accounts. You can put in your status or your bio, other things about yourself. We already have chat tools, although they're going to be getting better all the time. We have all kinds of great features from social media that are built in, which mean to Telos, which means that all kinds of dApps are able to use them right out of the box. That's important, right? We don't want the dApp developers to have to do all the work. We want to do a lot of the heavy lifting at the blockchain level. We even have developed a unique innovation in blockchain called sentiment tokens, which is the equivalent of a blockchain like or dislike or trust or distrust or certification. These are places where Telos is really pushing the envelope of what is blockchain, and also blurring the lines between what is blockchain and what is social media. Telos is highly decentralized, and this is across multiple domains. A blockchain, in my mind, can be decentralized in three important ways, and most people only talk about one. Most people only talk about the validating. So Bitcoin has millions and millions of miners, right, or thousands of miners, millions of computers. So, but all these miners are generally mining to a few pools, right? And there's maybe 5, 7, 11 Bitcoin mining pools that are actually the leading ones that are actually doing all the validating. Very similar on Ethereum. Telos is based on delegated proof of stake, and what happens is users vote for block producers. This also happens on EOS. EOS has 21 block producers, and they're pretty much locked in. So in a month, you have 21 people, 21 different companies, as voted by users, validating nodes. On Telos, we've expanded this, and we have, in any given month, we have over 50 different competing and sometimes cooperating organizations. You know, we cooperate to build the chain, and we compete to be able to run it. And this is just a higher level of decentralization in terms of the validating nodes. That's just one area, right? The other two are the economic decentralization and the geographic decentralization. So economic basically means if you have a bunch of giant whales, you know, on a blockchain, let's say you have a blockchain that is decisions are made by voting, but if you have some giant whales who control most of the tokens, right, then it doesn't matter how egalitarian the voting is, because it's totally skewed by that small number of users. In fact, that was one of the reasons that Telos launched, because we saw that this was happening on EOS, and we correctly called that would be a problem. But we were actually found a way to make one of the most even distributions of tokens of any blockchain on Telos, and that economic decentralization powers the governance features that we have, and it gives them meaning, because people with, you know, everyday people generally are able to still vote and have influence on the outcome instead of just a small number of giant whales. And then, of course, the third domain of decentralization is geographic decentralization. So there's a lot of centralization in blockchain about, you know, where this is being done. But Telos is worldwide. If you look at this map, these dots were the nodes, some of the nodes that were running Telos at any given time. You can see there's a lot in North America, a lot in Northern Europe, but also several in Africa, several in South America, a few in Australia and Asia. And this is from a few months ago, so it's actually grown. I know that we have more in Ghana and Nigeria now. In Kenya, we have more in South America. It's further. It's even from this slide. It's grown. We don't have one in India yet, and I'm hopeful that after this talk, maybe there will be a block producer or two from India, because I think that's a missing part of the world for us. But that geographic decentralization is actually very important if you want to be for a lot of reasons. If you want to be a blockchain for the world, it's nice to have nodes near people. It's nice to have groups that are working in various languages and countries. We have built really strong, inroads into developing nations, especially in Africa and South America, and of course there's a lot in the developing. Anyway, these are three forms of decentralization that Telos has. Telos is also extremely developer friendly. If you look at Ethereum or something like Telos, or there are blockchains that have their own unique coding languages languages like Solidity or Michelson or OCaml or something like that. Telos uses C++. C++ is not the sexiest computer language in the world, but I saw recently a figure that said 4 million C++ developers around. That's a lot. There's not 4 million Solidity developers in the world, I'm sure. And so this means that not only are there programmers to use, there's more knowledge, there's more libraries. It's a familiar developer environment. These are important features for developers. It means that you can develop quickly, lower cost, and avoid problems because you're not focused on working with a computer language that isn't that's still being developed and still new to everybody. It's also nice that Telos compiles code down to the 70 closet very fast. This is part of the secret to our success. And there's a large number of tools and libraries that you can use. So these are a lot of things that Telos is, and I think that most people are going to be excited. They're going to be wondering, what can you actually do with it? What can you do with Telos? What can somebody do, or what can you personally do? Well, there's a lot you can do with Telos, and one of the things right off the bat is you can add governance to any dApp. Now, blockchain governance is a very hot topic, right? We hear people generally think of blockchain like Telos as the leading blockchain governance because they can they can amend how their chain works, right? Well, actually, Telos, in my view, and not to take anything away from the good work that they've done, but Telos is further ahead. I'll tell you why. Not only do we also have a feature that allows those voters, and then we have really interesting, we have the ability to extend all of this to any dApp. So no one else is doing that, right? Aragorn is an Ethereum project that is trying to make it easy to build dApps, but it's not working at the chain level of Ethereum the way that these tools on Telos do. So we really, in terms of the governance of our chain, we're further out, and we're further out than almost anyone else in blockchain. And we didn't stop there. We made it possible for any dApp that's developing on Telos to use all of these tools themselves. That's a program or a feature called Telos Decide. It's instant governance for any dApp, right? It's the most advanced toolkit for adding blockchain, and it's again managed at the platform layer, so by the Telos core developers, so that each developer doesn't have to develop themselves. We're hearing so many great things from developers about how much time it's saving them, how quickly they can develop on Telos, and we think that if you take a look, you would look at that too. You would see that too. Governance. One of the things I've noticed is that there are a lot of blockchain projects that are planning to build a dApp, and they want to build. They promise a lot of voting and governance by their users, right? But what we found is a lot of these dApps didn't actually know how they were going to build that. They knew it was on their roadmap, but they didn't really know how to quickly build that. And many of these dApps that come to Telos simply adopted Telos Decide, and it's been working extremely well for them because all those features that they need are there. So Telos Decide features highly configurable governance. When I say that we have these features, you don't have to take them out of the box. There's multiple types of voting. You can have one account has one vote, right? You can have staked weight based, so accounts that have more tokens get more vote. You can do quadratic voting, which means that accounts that have more tokens get more vote, but it plays. It's not linear. It's more of a it levels off at some point basically in a quadratic way. You can also, in addition to all these different, you can have election, leaderboard elections where you can vote multiple people for multiple seats. You can have 20 candidates for 5 seats, and the top 5 vote getters win. There's a lot of different kinds of voting that's available built in to Telos that no one has to do anything with. It's built in. You can use it right out of the box if you're an adaptive developer. So you can also configure the thresholds and quorums. So for example, if you want to have if you're having a vote, and you're setting up how it's going to run, you can decide based on the governance of your dApp whether you need to have 5% of the voters for it to be legitimate, or 50% of the voters, or whatever number you want. That's the quorum. And then the passage thresholds can also be set up. So they can be you can have a simple majority where 50%, greater than 50% wins, or you can have a super majority where you need 65%, yes to pass something, or any numbers between those. Those are all configured. We also have a committee selection and management set of tools. So like I said, you can run that leaderboard election, you can vote in your managers. They can, by being voted in, have control over new accounts or control of multi-sig accounts. So you can vote in a board that then could custodians, right, for making day-to-day decisions, who then can pass new things based on a majority of that board voting, right? It's very nuanced, it's very advanced, and it's very easy to use out of the box. Another great thing about this is successful ballots trigger events and actions on the blockchain. So voting controlled by smart contracts, ultimately you don't just want to have some outcome and then people have to actually enact that, right? That's not the dream. The future we're moving towards is one where once the voting happens, the decided action occurs automatically, controlled by the smart contract, and that's what Telos Decide allows any dApp to use, and it's very powerful. That can be really any kind of blockchain action. So it can be transfer of funds, like we do with our Telos Works. It could be transfer of control of account. It could be there's all kinds of transactions that could occur based on these nodes. And again, these are chain level tools, and that's exciting and important because when you have something at a chain level, it means a few things. Number one, it means that it's all developed together. It all advances based on the work of the core developers, not a developer at a time. Of course, as new advances come in, those can be adopted by all kinds of dApps, right? More new kinds of voting, more kinds of committees, more kinds of features, right? This that you're looking at, and it also means, by the way, that users can have a common interface, right? dApps could certainly have each have their own interface, but as more and more dApps are using these features, and more users are engaged in dApps and DAOs and decentralized organizations that are using Telos Decide, as simple as a labor union or a sports league or or a small city, right? If you're voting in a number of these, it's nice to have a common set of tools so you don't have to keep learning new things. That is something else that you get when you have uniform deployment and interfaces, because you have chain level tools. By the way, this graphic that you see is actually the first of the amendments on Telos of our own governance that changed, that was voted. This happened a while ago, and it's very interesting. So our governance is stored on a document called the Telos Block2020 Network Operating Agreement, and it's made up of a number of clauses. And as you can see here, there's a few clauses that are part of this proposal. This is your proposal you'll see here. It was proposed by myself. We're looking at it at the end, so the voting is finished, and we can see that it passed by a large margin. But there were also a lot of people abstaining because they wanted to participate in the vote, but they didn't want to push it one way or the other, largely because a lot of those were the block producers themselves. Now there's these clauses on the right side. You see these clauses, number 10, number 23, 24, 44, 49. These are clauses and each one has text that can be expanded. In voting for this, what happened is that when this passed, it automatically replaced the text of these clauses in our current voting, in our current governance, the Telos Blockchain Network Operating Agreement.
with these new clauses, right? That's no one had to go. No one at the end of the election had to go do anything. It happened automatically. No one's used this before. It works great, and this is just another example of how you can have innovative uses of these tools. All of these tools are available to any DApp. So who's using it? Is anybody using it? Yes, absolutely. A number of dApps have come and used it. One I'd like to talk about is called Seeds. Seeds is a worldwide movement. They're very well organized, and they're moving towards regenerative economy. And that means that they are trying to build an economy where instead of being extractive, it feeds the betterment of the planet. And it does that through funding things like garbage cleanups and other projects. So seeds, if you want to do that, you have a problem, right? Because how do you ensure, first of all, that the projects that are going to be paid are the right projects? And how do you ensure that something is actually done properly? Well, that's the problem that seeds have. And they are using Telos to solve both of those. So to find which projects they are going to empower and design, they use our voting tools. And then similarly, to the fact you can see a proposal, an actual proposal from their seeds aspect data. Similarly, when things are completed, there are smart contract and voting functions that, and sometimes committee management functions that allow people to verify that in fact the work that was contracted was actually done. These are really big functions that were challenging for Seeds. In fact, the founder of Seeds told me that Telos Decide tools saved them a year to develop. That's pretty gratifying for me to know that a great app comes out, wants to change the world in a positive way, and doesn't have, is planning to do this development, and suddenly discovers that they could be a year ahead of their schedule simply by using these tools that we built. We spent a lot of time building these tools because they're built once, we can maintain them, and now thousands of dApps can use these, right, to fulfill the blockchain promise. Piranha is another dApp that's using these tools. It's a Q&A dApp like Quora or Stack Overflow, and it allows people to ask questions. And it's using Telos Decide to vote, to allow users to remove spam, to add new functions, add new groups, right? It's basically letting their users decide who and what how the dApp evolves based on Telos Decide. Telos Decide is actually highly configurable. Even though there's a common set of tools, every dApp can sort of make their things their own, right? If we look at this from Hypha DAO, in the upper right-hand corner, there's a social avatar. This is using a number of tools, including the voting, to drive the functions of dApp easily. But it doesn't mean they all have to look exactly the same. It's a customizable tool set. So Telos Decide makes creating DApps, DAOs, or decentralized organizations super easy. I would, if you go to app.telos.net, you can start trying that yourself. I'll show you a little bit of what that looks like at app.telos.net. So it's easy to create a group. You simply put together some UI. Every group is based on a token, so you designate the token, and tokens can have a lot of features. They can either be transferable or not transferable. If you don't want people to be able to sell their tokens, and just give them to a set group of people for a set amount of voting, they can be divisible or non-divisible. You can have one undivisible token for each user, or you can have a large supply that gets traded and people can vote based on how much they have. They can be economic tokens, or they can be only for voting. And all the other things about a token, like the max supply, the name, the token symbol, all those things are easily configurable right there on Telos, app.telos.net. You can view these groups, right? There's a number of groups there. You can take a look and see what's there. You can filter by the coins that by the groups that you're affiliated with. Voting, by the way, is completely transparent. It's secure. It's immutable. And these common interfaces make participating in groups much more easy and convenient. Like I said before, there's all kinds of voting, and when you're setting up your group at app.telos.net, you can pick a number of kinds of votings. You can set your thresholds and quorums. You can set up what actions get triggered if your vote passes. You can create ballots and polls. Basically, a poll is a ballot that doesn't have any function doesn't have any action at the end. This is one that we went to Santa Clara University and they set up. They wanted to set up a joke token, and so that's something we were able to quickly set up, and they were able to vote on. But any member can vote. Anyone can propose something, and these are common interfaces across web, desktop, mobile interfaces. It all works well together. Telos is definitely a strong blockchain for developers. One of the things that is great about Telos for developers is we have chain level funding. I was talking about this a bit before. Telos Works is our work proposal system, and it funds the Telos for developers, it funds our marketing, but it also funds, we also have had several dApps financed or gotten off the ground by asking for a Telos Works proposal and passes, right? So and this is really exciting. So this picture that you see is a vote for funding the Telos for devs, for example. But we have funded several dApps. One is something called WordProof, which is a WordPress plugin that allows people to timestamp and prove their WordPress posts on the Telos blockchain cryptographically. And it's actually there's a lot of people using this, and they don't even necessarily realize that they're using blockchain. This is one of the first general uses for blockchain that people are actually doing, right? Because it's important to be able to prove when you can publish something, especially if it has designs, right? That's currently missing, and Telos and WordProof offer this now. But what's important to developers is we found the money because we have an on-chain funding mechanism that's voted by users. We found the money to help them get off the ground. Now they're like a really successful business, but they wouldn't have got off the ground without that initial funding. We've done that for a few tokens, right? Sometimes just getting for a few dApps, sometimes just getting people off the ground is really what they need. I think if you guys are entrepreneurs or developers, like one of the hardest parts of all of that is just getting that sort of like little bit of seed funding, just so you can sort of work on, you pay a couple people to work on something, or eat while you work on something for a few months. Telos helps. We're helping dApps with that.
Douglas, sorry to interrupt. Sorry to interrupt. Yeah, we are on a time constraint. We can allot 3 minutes more. Are you wrapping up right now?
So we have tools, right? We have a great IDE. I think you want to see. These tools can often work together, so it makes it really easy for you to work together and build even better things that you can build in this ecosystem. Something that's really exciting is IoT integration. Because we have high speed fewest transactions, we're able to we're a great platform for IoT. We already have a number of dApps already using that system. It's a great way to do provenance and supply chain. For example, we have one of the top ciders of Spain is tracking their production and for users on the Telos blockchain, so that it eliminates the ability for the knockoffs. It does a lot of great things. And this is something that already exists, and it can be applied in many ways. So you can build something like this on Telos. We have decentralized data storage, which is a huge missing piece. It's fast and works well for dApps. You don't have to store all your. You can actually be decentralized both in your storage and your dApp, and not have to store things on Amazon Web Services. Most of all, Telos is a blockchain for people. Like, we're trying to pick up where social media has failed. Social media is great for communicating, but it's bad for sharing your information because you don't have any control, and it doesn't give these tools that allow people to work together in ways that so they can follow a common purpose, like I was talking about. But Telos has that. So you can see more. A great place you can go, in addition to app.telos.net, is explore. You can see some of the dApps, wallets, exchanges, tools, information, and all kinds of things that are there. If you go to explore.telos.net, you can look at all of these things and see more about what's already there and get some ideas about what you might want to build yourself. Thank you very much for letting me talk to you about Telos. I'm very excited. I hope this has been informative, and I hope that the conference is a big success. Thank you very much.